guys, Anna here, your non-toxic health coach. I am so happy to have you all here. You guys have been looking forward to this conversation. I am bringing in Mary Beth Fleming. She is an amazing fellow health coach. She's been doing this for a very long time, just like I am. She's actually a certified detox coach, and you've held this certification for over 15 years, Mary Beth, correct?
Yes.
So I also offer detox guidance. As you guys know, I work one-on-one with my clients, specializing in non-toxic living, but detox is such a huge part of non-toxic living because most people come in with a certain amount of body burden. And I just want to very briefly talk about that. I think most of you are familiar with the concept of body burden, but it's basically all of the things that we have accumulated, all the toxins over time, whether through food or in our environment. All of those things need to be released, right? So I know detox is such a hot topic in the group. On the daily, we're getting, I don't know, 40, 50 posts asking about parasite detox, right? That people are asking about heavy metal detox, glyphosate detox. People that are just wanting to detox, they don't even know what they're detoxing from. They just want whatever baggage that they've brought with them onto this healthy journey, health and wellness journey. They just want to release that and to detox that and to lower their body burden. So, Mary Beth, you have a wealth of knowledge, so much experience in this. And I wanted to just bring you on and have a conversation. And so our group members can benefit just to understand how to do the detox right? What are the most common pitfalls? And I guess my first question for you, and we talked a little bit about it off camera, but what are the most common myths versus the truths about detox? If we could start off with that, because it's such a trendy thing, right? There's definitely a lot of misinformation. So let's talk about that.
All right. Well, awesome. Thank you for having me, Anna. And I just love this group that you've created and all the interests in health and well-being. And I'm very passionate about detox. And there are a lot of myths out there. Like you said, it's a buzzword for sure. And I have fallen into the pitfalls of the myths myself when I very first started this journey. So I've learned some things along the way. And one of the things that I see most common with people is they think it's like a one and done type thing. Like, what can I detox from in 5 to 10 days and then I'm cured or I'm all better? But that's not the reality. Detox is a process of eliminating and then rebuilding and renourishing and eliminating and rebuilding and renourishing. Because if you can imagine, I mean, we've been alive for however long we've been alive. We have genetics that play into it as well. And so there's many layers of what we hold on to. And so the detox process, I like to think of it as layers of an onion. We're peeling back the layers. And it's not only on the physical level, there's also the emotional detox level that comes with it. When we start to get into the nervous system and things, there's many layers to it. So it's not a one and done thing. That would be, I would say, is the biggest thing. And I also see people get into the pitfall of just going too extreme or too fast too quickly versus taking it as more of a slower, longer, more sustainable approach. Our bodies are constantly detoxing. I mean, that's what they're meant to do. We're meant to bring in nutrients and then eliminate the waste that we're not using. And so our bodies know how to do it. And it's really more so a process of supporting our organs of elimination, supporting the body to do what it already knows how to do on a daily basis versus thinking of it as like this is an extreme, we got to hit it really hard and detox everything and then we'll be fine. I mean, we're exposed to things on a daily basis every single day. So it's a constant, continual process of tuning in with the body and learning how to support your body to do what it already knows how to do. So those would probably be some of the most immediate myths, I would say. One other one is this idea that because you do a detox, you'll just feel great immediately. And that also isn't always true. Depending on what you're letting go of and how long you've been holding it onto it, Sometimes there's uncomfortability. Sometimes there's periods of not feeling your best, feeling low energy. Our body actually, it takes a lot of energy to detox. And so sometimes we feel more lethargic or tired. But at the end of the road, if we stick with the journey, if we stick with it, there is that, more abundant, vital feeling that we can achieve and more less brain fog and healthy, happier living. But it's an up and down journey, and it's not always just, oh, I'm going to do this detox and I'll be great kind of thing.
I hear you, and I totally agree. And I see it in this health and wellness space all the time, right? So there are all these different fads, right? And all these different trends that go up and down, and like in any industry, I guess, right? So, but I'm closely watching the health and wellness space. So detox has definitely been it. And all these products coming out, oh, take these drops and and some crazy stuff. And I'm looking at the ingredients. I'm like, oh my goodness, if you do this, you're gonna feel terrible. You're doing this, you don't even know if your detox pathways are open, right? So there's a difference between a fad and a functional type of detox. And what you and I are advocating for are a functional type of detox. You can't put yourself in a bubble. Look, we've been on this journey for a very long time. I've been on my own health and wellness journey for the past 20 years, more than 20 years now. I constantly have to do the reset and the detox, right? Because while everything that I can control in my immediate environment, for example, that I can control is non-toxic, right? So my body burden is naturally lower, but it's not completely, clean because I'm not in a bubble, right? There's air outside. I have to interact with the world. So no matter how hard we try, we're constantly detoxing, and we need to make sure that we're supporting our bodies with functional detox. So I'm just echoing what you
Mhm.
said, and I absolutely love that. And also the expectations that people have. I'm going to detox for 2 weeks and then I'm going to feel this drastic difference. It doesn't work that way. The detox just will equip your body to release the toxins, and also thinking of long-term health effect, right? How does that affect us long term? It enables us to handle things that are thrown at us later in a different way, and also not to develop as we age. There's more possibilities of developing all sorts of conditions. So this just makes our bodies stronger. So let me ask you the next question, right? And the next question, again, that comes up from our members quite a lot. What are we detoxing from, right? Everybody wants to detox. They don't know what we need to detox from. So that's the big one.
Yeah, so there's many things. I mean, I was kind of astounded by the statistic when I learned it, but since World War II, we've been exposed to what we know of 80,000 more chemicals in our environment and our air. One of the big ones being glyphosate. Glyphosate was actually, it comes from Agent Orange. It was something that was used in warfare. There was leftover chemicals that they're like, well, what are we going to do with this now? Now we'll start a war on pests, right, in our food and all of this. So we are exposed to a massive amount of chemicals. Most of them we don't even know what they are, what their harmful effects are, long-term effects on ourselves or on our environments. The amount of heavy metals that we're exposed to on a daily basis, too. We've all probably heard of things like acid rain, right? Pollution going into the air and then coming down. We're exposed to it in our water, a lot of our cooking utensils. The big one nowadays is microplastics. Something else I learned recently, which is just astounding to me, is that the average American consumes 5 grams of plastic in a week, which is like eating a credit card of plastic a week. So think of that accumulation over a lifetime. And that's again in our food, fish that you might eat. It's coming in our water. It's coming in some of the clothes you may wear. I mean, it's just rampant. And then another thing is parasites. We're naturally supposed to have parasites and different bacteria in the body. We are, a living organism. But what's happening nowadays, because of so much exposure to chemicals and things like glyphosate that are weakening our immune system, weakening our gut microbiome, we're having an overgrowth of things that aren't living symbiotically anymore in our bodies. So there's an excess of parasites that are causing issues for people. Heavy metals, pesticides, herbicides, microplastics, parasites, these I would say are the biggest ones. Another huge one nowadays is mold toxicity. So, if you just look at it of how much we're exposed to, it can feel a little bit scary, but the the cool thing is, we do have solutions and there is an awareness to how to avoid some of these things, but not all of them.
My goodness, yeah. When you, I knowing all of these things, when you just hear someone else list them all out like this, it's kind of, it could be overwhelming for an average person and somebody who's just starting out on their wellness journey. Because even if I have clients that come in and say, I eat all organic, I probably don't need a detox, right? It's not just what you consume, it's also in your products and the air you breathe, the clothing you wear. But even organic, there's so much cross contamination happening. You see all those Driscoll farms, for example. I'm just going to use them as an example. They have strawberry fields on one side of the road, then there's a road, then there's strawberry fields that are organic on the other side of the road. And then they use these like huge sprayers, and some fields are so big they'll go over with like, I don't know, some sort of drone or whatever they use these days, and they just spray, could even be spraying glyphosate, right, or atrazine or whatever chemical pesticide they're spraying, and the wind just carries it over
Yeah.
to the organic fields, right? So you see all this cross contamination. We had this big thing with oats, that organic oats were all testing positive for glyphosate. Like, what is happening? How is that happening? Our soil is also so contaminated. Those chemicals are taking a long, long time to break down. And then, like you said, rain. How do you prevent the rain, right? Not everything is in these huge greenhouses. So then this acid rain just comes down and it's absorbed through the skin of the produce, it's absorbed through the soil. So no matter how intentional you could be about your food, you're still exposed to some level of these dangerous chemicals that you really need to be focusing on detoxing, maintaining your system, your detox system and pathways in the optimal state.
Mhm.
Because some of these, like how do these toxins impact energy, hormones, digestion, just health? If you can talk about some of the side effects of not maintaining your detox system.
Yeah, I mean, I think we see it a lot in our society, especially at younger and younger ages now, which really saddens me. They just did a recent study where the average child, they find 287 different types of chemicals in the umbilical cord. So that means coming into this world, we're already compromised. Our gut microbiomes are already compromised. We're already having to fight things that we shouldn't be having to fight, right? From birth. So I think we're seeing it in a lot of things of disorders and diseases that are popping up like crazy, and we also see a lot of people that suffer from like just simple things like brain fog, like, oh God, I can't remember that. Oh, I don't have the energy to get up in the morning. 1 in 3 Americans now has super poor sleep habits. And of course, there's many things that tie into that, but a lot of it comes down to, what we're eating, how we're living on a daily basis, and what we're exposed to. Nervous system issues where, stress and anxiety has become a huge issue. A lot of heavy metals and even parasites, they can tap into our nervous system. Some parasites can actually tap into the vagus nerve and affect our emotional response to things. So, I mean, there's just so many different ways. And I think a lot of people that think what is common now is normal. Like, oh, it's normal to not have that much energy when you wake up, or it's normal to not feel good after you eat, or, and people are just normalizing these things that aren't actually normal. They're symptoms of things that we're being exposed to in a lifestyle that isn't serving us.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. And I see it in my practice every day. Most of my clients are women. The amount of hormone imbalances that I'm seeing, all sorts of gut issues, there are things that really could be prevented, improved at the very least by a good solid reset and just maintaining detox pathways and making sure that your detoxification system works optimally.
Yeah, I
And
mean,
also
95% of the symptoms people experience on a daily basis are lifestyle driven. And
100%. Like
yeah,
they say, normalizing things. Oh, everyone, I know at least 5 people in my circle who have cancer, right? That's not normal, right?
yeah,
And a lot of these we talked about, you mentioned quite a few autoimmune conditions that build up over time, right? But then some of these chemicals, like glyphosate, for example, that's a known classified carcinogen. So, and there's a saying that I like to quote quite a lot is that, and that's actually not even a saying, it's a statistics from the Cancer Institute. Less than 10% of cancer is genetic. Because people think, oh, I have somebody, one of my ancestors had cancer, so I'm predisposed. No, it's only 10%, less than 10% of that. So the saying is that genetics can load the gun, but your environment is what pulls the trigger.
Hmm.
So if you think about it, it's true. So I think it is so, so important to just work on our system. And like you said, not normalizing it. It's not normal. And there are things you can do to feel better. So
Yeah.
let's talk a little bit about detox pathways. I've mentioned that a few times. I know a lot of you guys in the group have questions about that. Like I said, you could be detoxing, but if your pathways are not open, you will not be detoxing properly. Those who are receiving our newsletter, it's all about detox this week. So there was an email that came out on Monday that you guys can go back to and read if you haven't seen it yet. I talk about detox and detox pathways as well. So Mary Beth, if you can just kind of elaborate on that or give it a little like a crash course.
Yeah, and this is something I really wish I would have known when I started my detox journey 20 plus years ago. And that's when I became a detox specialist, is because of learning these things that, our body has five main organs of elimination that support with detox. Our bowels and our kidneys are number one. Liver is very right there in there. And then the other ones are our lungs and our skin. And people might not think about this, but our skin, like whatever we're putting on it, we're absorbing it. And we're also letting go of toxins when we sweat and things through our skin, through our deep breathing. A lot of people have very shallow breath and they don't recognize that just breathing deeper and, getting more oxygen into the lungs is one way we can actually eliminate toxins and things that are coming in through the air. And then our bowels and our kidneys, if we have congested waste in our bowels, the average American has 30 pounds of constricted and what's the word I'm looking for? Like constipation, basically, fecal matter in their gut that is hardened and is just living there, right? And it's a breeding ground for all different types of bacterias and parasites and things. And so if we're not constantly working on the bowels eliminating, having healthy elimination, we're getting backed up. And then same with our kidneys eliminating. And so the blood, people talk about cleansing the blood, which is great, but honestly, there's a huge system in the body called the lymph system. And this is actually 75% of the fluid in our body. And the lymph system is actually the waste system. So the blood delivers the nutrients to the cells and it has a pump, right? It moves through the heart. It's moving, it's kind of like a flowing river. But the lymph system, if you think about it, it doesn't have a pump. It's more like a pond. And if you've ever seen a stagnant pond where like all the moss is starting to grow, you can't see through the water, it's murky. That's what can happen to the lymph system when there's an excess of waste that's being dumped into it. And so our lymph nodes carry that waste from the lymph system to these organs of elimination. And if our lymph nodes are congested, number one, the waste is just going to stay stagnant in the lymph system. But then if it's carrying it to the organs of elimination and those are stagnant or they're under functioning, it's going to just move around in the body and get stuck. And that's where people come into contact with what we call Herxheimer reaction, where they're trying to detox and they're doing all the right things, but their organs of elimination are open. So it's just re-moving around in the body, causing different symptoms and reactions that can be really uncomfortable. So that's one thing that I really wish I would have known more about when I started my journey is okay, it actually starts with supporting these organs of elimination to do what they know how to do, but they may be under functioning because of the toxic burden. So, incorporating foods and herbs and practices that start to open up these pathways of elimination. So then when you do detox, you're effectively moving the waste out of the body.
Yeah, I love that analogy of the lymphatic system becoming stagnant and looking more like a swamp, right? So, and also the lymph is responsible for eliminating toxins from around the brain, right? So we are seeing huge increase in dementia and Alzheimer's, and a lot of it is just waste buildup in the brain, right? So that is huge. If your lymphatic system is not, and you know what it is too? It's all symbiosis. You can't be just focusing on the liver. I'm going to do the liver cleanse, but what about all the other pathways, right? You kind of have to make sure that they all work together, right? Because they're codependent systems. If your liver is optimal, but your lymph node is stagnant, you're this much closer, but not really, right? So I feel that that's also something that's really important to mention.
Yeah, I would
Now,
say that's in alignment with one of the myths too, is that we can isolate our body or take these isolated, supplements that are just focusing on one part of the body, but that's not how we are. We're a holistic system. If you look at nature, nothing is just isolated, everything's working together. And so, I mean, for example, if you want to detox parasites and you're just focusing on parasites, well, if you have a heavy burden of heavy metals in your body, there's parasites actually thrive in that environment. They love heavy metals. That's one of the things they feed off of. So if you're just focusing on the parasites, but you're not addressing the heavy metals, you're not addressing the environment that's going to keep the parasites away, right? So we can't isolate and think of it that way. It's really how do we look at this holistically and approach it so that we're, you know, getting the most bang for the buck, if you
Yeah.
will.
No, I 100% agree with you here. And I have clients coming into me and showing me all the detoxes that they have purchased online. And the drops, the zeolite drops are huge. Some of those zeolite drops we've tested, they're so contaminated in heavy metals. You're just adding burden. There's so many bad products out there. Just like in this group, we talk a lot about products. So just like in the beauty industry, supplement industry is not really regulated. So unless you know the company that you're dealing with, unless you know the third party testing, unless they really take the time and stand behind their product, 99.9% don't, right? So then you taking the zeolite drops or fulvic drops or whatever, and they're making you feel terrible. You may be flushing some sort of toxins. Like you said, your detox pathways are closed. They're reabsorbing into your system. So you have to live through that all over again. Same with the parasites. It's just awful. It creates complete havoc on your body. And then those products being contaminated with heavy metals themselves, and then you introducing more contamination to your body, burdening your system even more. So it's kind of terrifying how a lot of people fall for these ads. And then I spend months with clients just trying to untangle all of this,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I totally hear you, and it's so important. I think, in my opinion, and you probably agree with me, everyone needs to reset and everyone needs to detox once in a while. I have for myself, I have an ongoing regimen, and then once a year I do reset. Like the whole family would say, like 3 months we do reset. And when I
Wow.
say reset, it's not, painful or uncomfortable. It's like part of your lifestyle. It's just we adjust our supplement intake. It's all through food, right? You can support your detox pathway through food.
Yeah, and that's the thing is that's one of the other things I wish I would have known when I really started the journey is like detox is not like a diet, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's a lifestyle. And so it really can start with food. I mean, one of the best ways to just start opening your organs of elimination is start eating more fruits and herbs that support that. So for instance, tart cherries and melons are so good for the kidneys and they help to start opening that. Citrus is one of the best things because it actually goes in there and it kind of scrubs the lymphatic system and helps it to start moving, right? So there's just a lot of foods and herbs that you can start with that actually start that process. And when you're eating those on a daily basis, then you're ushering along that detox process in a slower way where you're not all of a sudden like, oh my gosh, I need to detox. I'm going to pound all these different things in there that I don't normally take. My body's not used to. My pathways aren't open. And then your body's going into shock versus this like slow integration of this is a lifestyle. This is what I'm doing daily. This is what I'm learning to make better habits and choices doing. That to me is longevity and that is real vital living.
Yeah, so that's more some of the foods you mentioned. That's something that we do for maintenance. For example, in the morning, you have a glass of lemon water, right? So that just starts up your liver. But for the reset, you really need a proper blend, and it needs to be extracts and concentrates and really higher doses in order for it to be therapeutic and effective. Because
Absolutely.
otherwise, if you're just adjusting your nutrition for maintenance, that's great, but you really need to do a reset. And I couldn't emphasize that enough. I feel like many people, you need things that jumpstart your system, right? So um, what are some of the most common symptoms that when you hear your clients bring to you, you know they need a detox and you know they need a reset?
Yeah, number one is the lethargy, just lack of energy. That tells me right there that there's probably toxic burden happening. The adrenals might be taxed, their pathways may not be eliminating. So if you wake up just feeling really lethargic, low energy, I mean, that's number one. Bloating after eating is a big sign that you may have parasites present or different things. And also, like if you feel like your digestion process takes a really long time, like you just feel really worn out after eating, that's another big one. Brain fog is a huge sign that there's over toxic load. Poor sleep, insomnia is a big sign that your body is constantly working while you're sleeping. Like when you're sleeping, you're supposed to be restoring and rejuvenating. And if you're having insomnia, waking up tired, it's showing that your body's trying to work when it's really supposed to be resting, right? So those are some of the main ones. Chronic headaches is another one that I see quite regularly. Hormone imbalances in terms of irregular cycles for women, moodiness swings for men. I mean, and like I said, it can also show up in emotional ways. That we have, this is an aspect that's not really talked about as much in the detox world, but the emotional detox and the thoughts we're thinking, that's also something we're consuming, right? And the traumas we've had and how that affects our body. And if we're not dealing with them, how it's building burden in the body as well. So it goes anywhere from the physical symptoms to also the emotional irregularities as well.
Yeah, I agree with you, and I see these things all the time. One other thing that you hadn't mentioned is ADHD. I've seen clients being helped, and this was kind of like a side effect. We were working on the gut health because one of the things you mentioned, bloating after eating, not eliminating constipation is huge for a lot of people. Um, not being able to eliminate waste daily, which is so important. And while we're working on that, all of a sudden these ADHD symptoms are going away and there's more focus and less anxiety. And you realize how the whole system is just so intertwined that it's so important, like you said, looking at everything and working at everything holistically.
Hmm.
Another beautiful side effect for those who are trying to release weight, like you said, there could be 30 pounds of waste that are sitting, build up in you, you're not even eliminating, even if you are going regularly. That's the buildup that you're mentioning. So I have seen people who had that stubborn weight just release the weight, even though we weren't working on weight loss. We were just focusing on the whole system. And
Hmm.
it's beautiful. You get your body to the optimal state.
Yeah. And it's also for me, it's finding a healthy balance of weight. I know when I first started my detox journey, I was carrying a lot of excess inflammation and water weight. And so I let go of a lot. But I've also worked with people who need to gain weight because they maybe do have parasites or they're not absorbing their nutrition. And so they're actually malnourished in so many ways. America is one of the most overly fed but undernourished countries. And one of that reasons is because of the sad American diet and we're not actually absorbing. So many times I've led people on a detox journey where their body self-regulates and their hormones start self-regulating and their body does what it needs to do. It may be let go of excess waste and weight for sure, but it may also be rebuilding and nutrifying. And that's why you're saying like taking these therapeutic doses of nutrients and herbs to really re-nourish so that your body can let go and can start absorbing what it needs to, which is going to support your pathways of elimination.
Yeah, I completely agree. What do you think about, in your experience, what are the biggest mistakes that people make with parasite and heavy metal detox? Those are the most common that come up in the group. I want to do a parasite detox for myself and my 4-year-old. I want to do heavy metal detox, right? What are the biggest mistakes?
So for me, I would say with parasite is it's not following the cycles of the parasites. Often people will just do like one parasite cleanse and think that's good. But actually, when we're taking herbs to kill parasites off, what they do is they lay eggs because they're like, oh no, I'm dying. My species needs to continue on. And so those eggs typically hatch 10 to 15 to 20 days later. And so it's necessary to do another round of herbs in that time window so that you can clean up whatever was left over. So that's one of the biggest issues that I see is people don't do the longevity of it. And again, people approach it as like a one and done thing. I am more so for gentle parasite cleanses. There's a time and place where people maybe need to go really deep and do a bigger one if they know they have brain parasites or something more extreme. But honestly, taking gentle parasite herbs regularly. Like you said, your family does a reset every year. I like to do I'm currently on a parasite cleanse right now because I like to do different ones with the season. So that's one of the things is following the longevity of that process. With heavy metals, I also see people go too fast too soon because again, if your pathways aren't open and all of a sudden you're stirring up all these heavy metals and they're depositing in different places in the body, it can cause different pain, it can cause different issues coming up. One of the reasons I got into this journey is when I was 15, my mom was diagnosed with severe heavy metal toxicity from mercury fillings that she had. And that led to precancerous cells and fibroid growth and all these things. And it was really a process of actually years that we had to go through of like preparing the body for the heavy metal detox. So what I see is people like, I'm going to do a heavy metal detox and they go really fast, but they don't realize how much their body's going to be stirring up and it needs to be supported out of the body. And it's not just taking herbs and different things, it's supporting the lifestyle as well so that you're supported on a daily basis. So, too fast, too furious, and then not sticking with it long enough to actually have the long-term result.
Yeah, I love how you put it and how you broke it down in these two sections. With the heavy metals, again, it's if they go too fast, too quickly, like you said, the reabsorption happens and they're back to square one or even worse, right? Because some of the things that could have been like stored in the tissues are now in the blood, so they're feeling terrible. And that's the part that's missing with a lot of these products that are, and it just makes me so frustrated when clients come into me with like bags of these things that they've tried, and I know that they have no third party testing. I know some of the products I recognize easily, I know they're contaminated, and all these things are expensive, they cost money. So when you invest in something thinking it's going to make you feel better, and there's this lack of education around it as well, and then it just makes you feel worse. So I feel that it's so, so important, like with any industry, to really make sure that whatever product you're using to help you detox is of the highest quality. And I want to ask you a follow-up question on parasites, just because I know many viewers will want to know. So I'm kind of preemptively putting that in. And guys, if you have questions, as questions come up, just put them in the comments and we'll get back to you once the interview is over. We'll review all the questions in the comments. Tag me if I miss it, because Facebook shows me selectively what it thinks I need to see. So if I'm not seeing it, let me know. Tag me in there. So going back to parasites, the cycle, fascinating. A lot of people don't realize it, right? They'll do the parasite cleanse and they're like, okay, I'm done. And then the babies start to, right, pop up and hatch. And we're not talking about, there'll be proponents in the group, and I agree with you. We will never get rid of all the parasites. It's normal. We have a symbiotic relationship with them, right? We are an organism ourselves. But you need to keep them in check. They cannot overtake your immune system. They cannot overtake your health. They're not running the show. You running the show, right? So you want to make sure to keep that in balance. And that's why the reset, that's why the ongoing maintenance is so, so important. But the question about parasites, where do they come from? What's the most common source of getting parasites?
Yeah, so 8 in 10 people have parasites that they've accumulated from other places that aren't just like naturally living. And one of the biggest places is our pets. I know people don't always like to hear this, but if you're kissing your dog on the mouth or whatever, licking and stuff, like one of the biggest one is our pets. So when people are going through parasite detox, I always ask, well, do you have animals in the home? It might be a good idea to do a parasite cleanse with them at the same time so you're not just re-exposing each other, right? And so animals is one of them. Just fruit in general, like if you don't wash your fruit or your vegetables at the store when you get it, that's a place that you can get it. Travel, right? Obviously, we know like not washing your hands after the bathroom and things like that, but it's just daily living in life. And many people get exposed to parasites just walking around barefoot in really dirty places. I mean, there's so many different places that they live. And again, it's not necessarily that we shouldn't have any parasites at all, but like you said, we need to keep them at bay and so that we're not feeding an environment where they can grow and then become a problem and start taking our nutrients and all the other things.
Yeah, I agree. I'm going to add one more source just because In my program, we do a lot of water testing. Water is also a big thing. And water, oh
Yeah.
my God. I have seen the amount of parasites I have seen in regular tap water, well water. You would think in this day and age that those big municipal water treatment plants will actually deliver clean water. Not even close. The amount of parasites and just other contaminants that I've seen in water is just mind-boggling. So you can wash your hands all day long. You may not have a pet, but if your water is not filtered, good chance is that there are parasites in the water. And also it's the things like you eating out, right? You don't know if the person in the kitchen has washed their hands. Like it's all the little things. If you are living on this earth, chances are you have parasites and you need to make sure that they are in check and they're not running the show, so to
And if
speak.
you tend to bite your fingernails, like, things live under there. But yeah, water is a huge component. And so they're everywhere. They are.
Do you recommend parasite cleanses for kids as well? Because that's a big question in the group too.
Yeah, I do. And especially if you notice symptoms of your child, like I actually have quite a few clients that I work with where their children does have ADHD and different things. And then they'll do a parasite cleanse and they're like, oh my gosh, they're so much better, right? So that plays into it. But it's definitely something that needs to be approached kind of on, you do less amount of herbs, right? It's more monitored, I would say, than it is with adults. But definitely there's a time and place for that for sure.
Yeah. I also recommend when the family is doing a reset is to do it together.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
it's just so much easier, right? If you're adding your extracts and to a shake, for example, I'll just make a whole pitcher in my Vitamix and everybody's getting a shot in the morning, right? Like we're all drinking our stuff. It's just easier than having to do that for one person and then also recontamination.
Yep. And just the
So
accountability piece. I mean, that's really how I got on the health journey was when my mom got sick. We were all like, okay, mom, we'll just jump on board with you and do what you need to do so that you can have that accountability. And so when you do things together, you usually sustain it longer, right? And then the benefits come where the whole family's feeling better. And now you're like, oh, building this healthy lifestyle together. So I'm all for families doing it together.
yeah, for sure. And we've talked about the problem so much. People really need the solution, right? Outside of signing up with working with a coach, right? That really understands detox and can build a personalized system. What can a person do if they're not ready for one-on-one coaching? What can they do and they've never done a proper detox, and most people have not done a proper detox. How can they start? What would you
Yeah.
recommend?
Great question. And we're like we live in the day and age of research. So just start with research. Like, we have ChatGPT and AI and all these things now, and you can actually really get some good information on sharing what your symptoms are, what you're experiencing, maybe sharing a little bit of what your past is and where you'd like to be at and how to start, right? So just start doing some research. Again, for me, it starts with the diet is number one place. So starting to clean up the diet, eating more hydrating, alkalizing foods, less of the fried foods, less of the toxic foods, less preservatives, all of that. That even is a great start. And then, there are companies and products and programs out there that are fantastic. And so just doing your research and making sure that, if you're getting support from a program, that you really do your research and make sure it's clean and that all the ingredients are vetted and that, you can have a program that is set up for you that you just have to stick to as long as you really do your research on the company. So, yes, so a lot of companies out there just, oh, detox is popular. We're going to create this thing and just shove it down people's throat. But no, do your research, find companies, find programs, find people that are really educated in this area and then follow that path. And I've seen so many people have success with more of these kind of self-guided routes because one of the things for me that is really important is when we're working with the body, I think in our Western society, we think a lot of like, oh, the doctor knows all the answers and the doctor knows more about my body than I do. And in reality, that's not true. Like, my goal is to help empower people to learn more about your own body, learn your more empowerment for yourself, learn how to incorporate healing, healthy tools on a daily basis so that you can feel empowered in the process and you can actually get more in tune with this vessel, right? And so I love the approach of self-empowerment, empowering one to do what they want to do in a very healthy and educated way.
Yeah, I hear you. The only one part where I would disagree with you is just because I see this day to day with my work with my clients working one-on-one is the AI research. It's like I've had people bring me stuff from Google AI, and a lot of times it's just regurgitating like advertising from
Well, true.
brands or what have you, right? So you have to, and it can't take the whole picture into account. And then AI's nature, it's so agreeable with you. So it will tell you whatever you want to hear. So you could still get so much misinformation. You really have to go down the rabbit hole and use all these multiple resources. And my group knows I'm a researcher, that like I do research for fun. I'll read clinical studies for like bedtime relaxation. So for me, I'm a scientist with like double science degrees. And for me, this would be, researching is my jam. And I've really dived in into various protocols and various products and even trying to build like, a package for my clients and just, you get this from here and that from here. And then it just becomes even more overwhelming. But we
Mhm.
want to simplify. And like you said, the goal is to empower. One of the brands that I really love working with is Purium, and just the integrity of that brand is amazing. You use their products as well. I know you recommend them. I think they're the best and the leader in the space. And I feel comfortable that it's not only are they third party tested and everything is fully accessible. You could see the testing. I love that. The transparency, the science behind it. But I love that the quality and the results that I'm seeing with it myself. That's the brand that my family uses. And I love the results that my clients are getting. And it's not overly aggressive, it's gentle. And you can use it as a reset. That's what we use for reset. We use the Ultimate Lifestyle Pack. I don't know if that's the one you also recommend for resets, but I've just been loving this brand and I feel comfortable. I have actually reached out to them and we're able to get a discount, an exclusive promo for the group. And that's one of the things members of this group love, and they've come to be like to get used to this, is that we get all these special promos. So we'll talk about these products. I know you guys will have a lot of questions, but they have a really great reset set. They also have not just detox, right? They have a lot of different supplements. It's just a great supplement brand overall. What has your experience been with their products? Mine has been outstanding.
Yeah, amazing. I've been, using Purium for myself and clients for over 6.5 years. And it's because it's a company I feel extremely aligned with. It checks all the boxes for me, and it really does approach from a holistic point of view. They have a 90-day ultimate lifestyle transformation program where you go through, it's not 10 days, it's 90 days, because science shows it takes 90 days to change a habit. And then at that point, you're more moving into the lifestyle change. And then the whole philosophy with the program that I also love, because this is where when I first started, I thought I was doing all the right things with detoxing. I was, doing all the different cleanses and fruit fasting and juice cleansing and water fasting and doing all these different kinds of herbs and parasite cleanses and all the things. But what I wasn't doing was re-nourishing and, taking the holistic dose, like you're saying, to replenish. And so what ended up happening to me is 13 months postpartum with my first son, I got into severe depletion. And I was like, what the heck is happening? I'm one of the healthiest people I know, but here I am, my hair's falling out, my nails are breaking, my moods are all over the place, I'm not getting good sleep. Like what? And what I realized is it was a nourishment issue of, yeah, I had done a lot of detox, but I hadn't re-nourished myself, reintroduced the minerals that maybe got chelated out and different things. And so the one thing that I love about the program and why I use it so much is because it's this approach of gentle detox, really deep nourishment at the same time to really support the organs of elimination, and then, alkalizing, eating real whole organic fresh foods that are dehydrated. So it's really simple, and I think that's the other thing that can be challenging with some of like the juice fasts and all that. It's very time consuming, and it's like a lot of head energy to be like, oh, I need to go to the grocery store and buy this, and I need to get this herb over here and this, and it can be just so overwhelming. And so one of the reasons I love the program is it's all laid out. Everything in it is very holistic. It supports you with all the necessary components of the deep nourishment, the gentle detox, rebuilding the microbiome, absorbing your nutrition. One of the herbs in there, or supplement, they'll say, is called Biomedic, and that's actually the only product that's on the market that has been clinically trialed and proven to remove 74% of the glyphosate in the system. So it's
That's
removing
amazing.
that,
That's amazing. I
and then
love
it's
that one. I recommend it all the time. You know how I found them? I was looking for chlorella for myself and to recommend just because the brand I've been using, I just started to have my doubts. It's an international brand. I was looking for something US based. And I found amazing reviews on this product. And I just, started researching deeper and looking at other products of from the company. I was just blown away and have been trying them little by little. And then I said, you know what, let me try this reset. Never going back. Like you said, it's a complete pack. And it's also not about just eliminating, it's about re-nourishing, and it's so important. And I love that you can use it for kids too.
Mhm.
You'd adjust the dose, but if we do it as a family, we do it all together, which just is so comfortable. So
Absolutely.
yeah, I absolutely love that. And they have the parasite cleanse as well, and it comes as a part of the Ultimate Lifestyle Pack. Can you just can you break down the pack real quick? I know that's going to be one of the questions, but this way we don't have to answer it in the comments.
Yeah, so the beauty of the pack is it like covers all bases and it really looks at the body holistically. So what I typically start mostly, I would say 95% of people with is this ULT, and one of the main components is our Power Shake, which is this nutrient dense shake in there that has over 40 different types of foods. Because if you think about, when we were hunters and gatherers, we were exposed to so many different diversity of foods because we were eating berries and herbs and all these things. And nowadays, our diet has become very monocultured. If you go to the grocery store, you're typically choosing from 5 different species of foods. And that's one of the reasons our gut microbiomes are compromised because they lack diversity. And so, one of the reasons I love this Power Shake is that it's powerful. It has all these different micronutrients in it to really help with the diversity of the gut and remineralize. So you're doing that twice a day to really flood the body with nourishment. And then there's the apothecary, which I absolutely love. It's 100% organic tart cherries.
That's
And
one of
this
my favorites too. I love that one.
yeah, I can feel the difference when I don't drink it at night. I wake up and I feel a little bit more groggy, but when I do drink it, I feel refreshed. And one of the reasons is tart cherries are one of the only foods that have naturally occurring melatonin in them. So it's not like taking an isolated external melatonin source, but it's actually giving your body what it needs to produce its own melatonin. And so you can get into that deep REM sleep where the body really is restoring and rejuvenating and letting go. And it also helps with inflammation. Tart cherries are amazing for that. It's great for the liver, great for the kidneys. So that's a component of it. I personally drink it throughout the day, but you can take it at night. And then there's the Biomedic we were talking about, excuse me, which is the glyphosate detox, very gentle. It can also help to chelate some heavy metals out and then rebuild the gut villa and so that you're absorbing your nutrition, which is such an important part of detox, is actually absorbing the good stuff. So there's that. And then there's one of my favorite, I would say, the product that really kind of got me into this program and why I really love it so much is the plant-based amino acids. They're 99% bioavailable. So typically, when people are ingesting protein sources, especially complex proteins, your body is actually only able to use anywhere from 14 to 38% of the amino acids that's in there. And the rest becomes waste that your body has to get rid of and ends up in the lymphatic system. But these are such a clean source of protein that your body absorbs 99% of them. They don't put any extra pressure on the kidneys like a lot of complex proteins do. So you're not over pressuring the kidneys, right? And then, they're absorbable within 23 minutes. So you can really feel the effect. I take them before workouts. I've been a nursing and pregnant mom for many years. I'm not anymore, but at one point I was like 8 years along the journey, and that was one of my go-tos just for that really clean source of protein because it's very important for the body too. So there's the deep nourishment, there's the healthy protein, there's healthy fats as well, and the Power Shake, which is also essential for nervous system health. And then there's the Biomedic, and then the the Parasite Cleanse, which I'm actually on right now. I'm on my second segment of it. And the reason I love this, I've tried many parasite cleanses, and some have worked good, some not as effective. Some I was like completely laid out on the toilet the whole time, and nobody wants that, right?
Nobody wants.
So the reason I love this one is it's very gentle and it just helps, release compacted waste in the bowels. And then it works with if you have, those parasites are getting out of hand a little bit, or even mold and yeast and other bacterias. And so, I will say that being on it this round, it'd been a while since I had done one. So that's why I chose to do one this in July. And there's days where I'm feeling a little bit more tired and wanting to sleep more because my body's working to eliminate. But overall, like the mental clarity, the clearness I feel, just the energy of waking up and being like, oh, I'm ready for the day. That is all effects that I'm having currently, which I love. So, and then for many years, I utilized this program too without doing the parasite cleanse because I was pregnant and nursing. And that's where I just did the program, but I replaced it with what you said, the cracked cell chlorella. So that's the other thing I love about it. I use it to really meet people where they're at, depending on if this is their first time going through detox and they're just needing to start introducing more good, or they've been on the journey for a long time and they want to go a little bit deeper. You can kind of fit the schedule to fit your needs. And then if you are pregnant or nursing, we have a path for you too. And that's one of the reasons I love it, is because it can be tailored to different people's goals and needs.
Yeah, I am in the same camp as you are. Definitely customization is nice to have, but overall, just as is this ULT kit for any person who just wants to do reset, even if they think they don't need one. You do need one if you live on this earth and you're not in a bubble. So, and I'm so happy, like I mentioned before, to be able to offer 25% off to our group. There's a special code that I have. I'll post that. If you have any questions, do post them in the comments. Feel free to DM me directly. I do get hundreds of messages by messenger per day. So this may be not the fastest route to contact me, but if you want to remain anonymous, there's an anonymous way. You can comment in the group as well, because I know people, some health subjects could be a little bit sensitive as well. And like I said, you could reach out. I just may not respond as quickly. Mary Beth, thank you so much for taking the time and for chatting with me today, for educating. The group members will be in the comments answering your questions, and I hope everyone has a blessed day. To your
Yeah.
health. Take care.